Once upon a time, I was sitting, scrolling through Pinterest and thinking for hours upon hours what I should draw, all while this big white canvas was staring into my soul. I could do a simple study, but these type of drawings hold little to no meaning to me, especially since I could do something that is closer to my heart and still apply all the practices. Now fast forward a year later, I can now produce artworks with nothing holding me back but my own imagination. My latest piece, for instance, the idea behind it popped into my head in a matter of seconds once I decided I wanted to draw something. And if there's one thing I learned in all that time, it's that art block or a lack of ideas consist more of than just your inability to be creative. Starting with the foundation, the source of all art, which every one of us can tap into at any time, yet ironically, it can give us the opportunity to be unique as well. Unfortunately though, I feel like this gets discarded very easily, especially at times where everybody makes art for the purpose of commercializing it or hop from one trend to the other just to reach a certain amount of people, which I've done as well. And that exactly is the number one thing that holds us back from making what we truly want, or making anything at all in that case, because making art to please other people or creating art for anybody else other than yourself is unsustainable and will inevitably lead to a dead end. And the thing I'm speaking of, you might have already guessed it, are your emotions and how you convey them. The best and most relatable example I can give is music. How many songs of heartbreak are out there, yet all made in their own unique way, with millions upon millions of people listening to them?
Want a break from the ads?
And what's so interesting is that some of these songs might not be the best from a technical point of view, but because they're so relatable from an emotional standpoint, so many people connect with it, thus making the song a hit. And so what I want to say with that is, your first task is to blend out your skill level, blend out the numbers and performance, etc., and just focus on yourself and how you truly feel inside. And even if you should find nothing, that sort of numbness is also something. And then once you really tapped into that part of yourself, think how you can convey all these emotions in one image. And just a quick side note, I want to cover art block not from just getting the idea into your head, but the entire process of creating your artwork until the end, because there are just so many things that we can get stuck on. As artists, of course, in my opinion, it's our job to take whatever is inside your head, whatever chaos is building up inside there, and put it out there, whether it's in form of a painting or music or whatever. Now, because it sometimes can get very overwhelming, instead of making our own image, we try to find it on the outside in the form of a reference usually. So we scroll and pretty much end up with nothing but frustration, because there's this feeling that we need to express, but there's no image, no painting, no overall reference that reciprocates the same energy that we feel. So to avoid that, I stopped looking for references online and started making my own. Now that everything is in your hands, you can do the exact perspective, the exact pose, and just try out a couple of things and not waste too much time on it. And then when you need more help with lighting, because the pictures we're going to take in our room are most probably not going to look aesthetic, you can still turn to Pinterest for that. To further elaborate on the process on coming up with a reference, because oftentimes it's just fragments in my head and not an exact image. Basically, on the example of my latest drawing, where I mentioned how I pretty much got the idea instantly, the way it happened is I got hurt and I tried to describe that feeling, and what it came down to was Cupid shot me and now I'm bleeding. This is where I take my phone and shoot a bunch of references until I get that one picture that just resonates with my idea, from the facial expression and the pose. So basically, to conclude everything of this first segment, try to minimize the amount of boundaries that you give yourself. Now before we continue to the next segment, which is the process of drawing itself, here's a small tip that can help you keep your mind fresh and develop your creativity. Whatever you do in life, whether it's watching a movie, traveling, or reading, try to learn something from that experience. Seek inspiration from various sources, because that is what will keep your mind nourished. Yesterday, for example, I watched the movie Angel's Egg, and for the people that have seen it know that the pacing is awfully slow, damn near glacial, and the story just convoluted as hell. Yet regardless, despite disliking some segments of it, there were some where I was able to take inspiration from that might possibly enhance my artistic growth. My point being is, never write something off as bad out of your first impression. Always try to find some sort of value in every piece of art.
What about Doom Part 2? We ain't talking about that one.
Anyways, let's move on to drawing. You sit down, you start sketching, and sooner or later you reach that next boulder of art. A very tricky one is color, for example. You might get stuck on that simply out of the fact because you have no idea which ones to use. You maybe always wanted to dip your toes into more abstract ways of doing things, or simply step away from the typical orange-ish, reddish colors for skin. Now, I have made a video where I talk more in depth about what makes great art great, and if you look at your drawing and you find something always looks off, maybe you might find your answer there. But this being a video on how to overcome obstacles and lack of ideas rather than how to get better at art, let me tell you how I did it. Before doing digital art, I have only known black and white. And even when switching, I stuck to it for quite some time because that is what I was comfortable with. The fear of potentially ruining an artwork and quote-unquote wasting my time dominated me. Simply because I had that mindset from earlier days that every artwork I make next had to be better than the last one. Because especially back then, whenever I tried out different things other than the things I was really good at, my performance kind of tanked, like on social media, etc. But yeah, that feeling continued until a second fear appeared, which was basically missing out on all the potential I could reach if I never decide to plunge into the cold water of color. So the way I did it was very chaotic. Tutorials don't help me because I learn best through trial and error. Though the biggest tip that I can give you, pretty much the only thing that helped me, is to find an artist that you really like, whose works you're really fond of, and kind of use them as a guideline, or in better words, inspiration, while always keeping a sense of yourself in the back of your head. For example, I always come back to this artist. I mentioned him countless times. Sui Ishida, the creator of Tokyo Ghoul, is my all-time favorite artist. His color game is just top-notch, and this artwork of his, which is like the cover art of the 14th volume of Tokyo Ghoul, inspired this artwork of mine. Now I think the video is coming closer and closer to the line of how to make better art rather than how to overcome a constipated head producing no ideas. So let me touch on a few more things that I think worry the most beginners. That, my friends, is probably style. I've been there twice. Unfortunately, there is no shortcut. It's an atrocious place to be in, having no sense of self-identity. It sucks. Now to overcome this, all you gotta do...
Whoa! Sure, go ahead. Oh, alright. Alright, look.
All you gotta do is use your imagination.
Jimmy, what the f?
What do you mean, what the... How else are you gonna find your own style?
You ever tried to use that thing between your ears?
What do you mean?
Exactly, Jimmy. How are you gonna tell somebody who can't even draw two eyes and a nose without creating something looking like the bell ringer from that movie to use their imagination?
Quasimodo?
Yeah, that guy.
But how are you gonna be unique and special when all you do is copy other people?
Where the f did I say to copy other people?
Well, if you ain't using your own head to come up with art, you gotta get it from somewhere.
Jimmy, you mother... Let me tell you what your imagination is by asking you one simple question. How does one draw a celestial magical apple with 2 heads, 5 eyes, and a 6-pack if they ain't never seen a normal apple before?
They look forever. Your point being...
You're a danger to society with that brain of yours. Look, your imagination is just a big fat library with things you've seen in your life. And to be creative means mixing a bunch of together and making new
I mean, you don't gotta be so harsh.
Nah, I definitely do. You create a bunch of Jimmys and I don't need that.
But I am you, which makes you stupid as well. Jimmy ain't even my name.
Jimmy?
Yes?
Get the out.
Okay, what just happened? With that being said, just don't worry so much when you draw. Keep looking at various source material with your artistic eye and build that visual library of yours. Just keep drawing while learning your fundamentals and eventually mix a bunch of stuff together and somehow, you'll land somewhere. Damn, somebody gotta quote that. Anyways, I was super sick the past 2 weeks, but now I'm good. The phone is ringing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Truly, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Wow!